So Donald Trump has written this letter to Nancy Pelosi, which will, I don't know, be in the Smithsonian. I mean, honestly, like it's the third time. I mean, like right now, everything seems just ridiculous to us. At one point, maybe 70, 80 years from now, when people can look back on this and laugh a little bit, they're going to look back on this as a piece of history. It's not going to be sort of as amusing. You know, there'll be some historians like in 70, 80 years who's just like, oh, have you guys ever seen the Trump letter? And everybody was sitting around, you know, ingesting whatever it is at that time that we ingest. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Everybody will have their IV hooked up, even if, you know, maybe we won't even have bodies at that point. It would just be orbs. But
God willing.
Talking about how funny that letter is back in history.
Oh, that's very optimistic of you, Sam.
Who knows?
I want to see the Obama letter to Boehner like that.
Well, but here's the thing. We also know, not only is this letter come off as if it's written by a lunatic, we know that Donald Trump must be losing his mind over impeachment. And how do we know? Not just his behavior, because he's been losing his mind for a while. We know because if Donald Trump could look into the future, like he had a perspective about impeachment that I think probably describes what he's experiencing to a T. Now, I can't read his mind and know this, but I can watch video of him calling in to Fox and Friends in 2014. And this is what he had to say about impeachment.
Do you think Obama seriously wants to be impeached and go through what Bill Clinton did? He would be a mess. He would be thinking about nothing but it would be a horror show for him. It would be an absolute embarrassment. It would go down on his record permanently. But they're saying, oh, he'd love to be impeached. That would be so good. And the Republicans are all saying, oh, we'd never impeach him. We'd never impeach him because he'd like that. Well, and the Republicans, and I'm a Republican, and the Republicans...
There you go.
I love that grunt he does when he's trying to sound tough.
I'm a Republican. Do we have the clip from that we'd pulled from, I guess it was like a year ago or August or something like that, where Ducey was saying if he said Biden? Do we have that?
It'll be remembered as the greatest con job ever.
I don't want to play that, but I mean, I want to play that. But that is Donald Trump, I think, to a T, expressing what he's going through. Because he had this projection of this notion of what impeachment meant. And he might be right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, personally, I think that Donald Trump was going to go down in history maybe as the worst single or two-term president that we've had. I mean, I don't think it's possible for history to look kindly upon Donald Trump's presidency, but this is the type of document that, I mean, look, there's been 2 other impeachments. Bill Clinton, after they tried to smear, I can't even remember her name now. After they tried to smear
Who?
Yeah, Lewinsky.
Oh, you mean the Clintons?
Yeah, the Clintons tried to smear her when it first came out.
Lewinsky,
Yeah, and say she's a lunatic, blah, blah, blah. Once it went to impeachment, he became very much sort of contrite. And there was no question as to whether one could impeach. The question was, should one?
I realized that I should go on the pedophile's plane after I conclude my work serving the American people. I apologize.
I've changed my ways. I would say he probably did not have another fare in the White House.
Counting the days.
And I think that's true.
Post-prezzo what?
I was on my best behavior.
Andrew Johnson was a lunatic. He could have written a letter like this, it seems to me, but he didn't. And now we have the 3rd impeachment in the history of our country, and this letter will be the central focus of when historians look back on that. They will look at this letter and say, wow, this guy was nuts.
Actually, they'll say how healthy I was.
The other concern I have is the way he's going to assuage his hurt feelings is by lashing out. Like, you can't impeach me twice. Now, you can, but I think that they probably know in the White House, like, they're not going to go back down this road again. And so, I mean, that's personally why I would like to see multiple articles of impeachment be sort of like doled out over the course of the next 6 months.
You think he's not going to do more crimes
Exactly.
if he gets out of this?
Exactly. Or even if he does get out, I mean, he's going to do more crimes, period. Here is just since we heard that fallback Wednesday clip of Donald Trump calling into Fox and Friends in 2014. Here is, and this is just from like September. Here's Steve Doocy reminding everybody what it would take to legitimize impeachment.
If the president said, you know, I'll give you the money, but you got to investigate Joe Biden, that is really off the rails wrong.
Right.
But if it's something else, you know, it would be nice to know what it is. Mark Levin.
There you go. Boom.
Hey, you do know what it is now, buddy.
Right.
Off the rails.
Off the rails. Not on the rails, not behavior that the president should be following.
You're the one.